I always like to introduce myself first as being a daughter of the Most High, right? And that acknowledgement is really important to me because it doesn't have to be. But because he decided to choose a girl like me to be his daughter, to be called by him for such a time as this, I am unapologetic about my father. And I hope that you all in your struggle to know him and to know you will become unapologetic about your relationship as well. And so I am able to breathe as I teach people and to speak life because of that relationship, because he loves me unconditionally. And so I've learned how to love myself first and then love others unconditionally. And that's really what this breathe journey, the breathe movement, the breathe message is all about. You have to first lean into your own belief system. What is it that you're believing that's keeping you stuck, that's keeping you broke, that's keeping you from moving forward? Because it begins in your mind. It begins with your belief. And so some of you are mourning, some of you are grieving, some of you are hurting, some of you are dealing with neglect and rejection and abandonment and all those things, but you're dealing with it because you are looking for validation from a person that you may never receive. And so on today, I want to speak life to you and know that you are called by your creator. And that is the only validation that you will ever need, because man will reject you. Man will disappoint you. Man will let you down. But there is a heavenly father that says, my daughter, my son, I got you. I love you. Before the foundation of the world, I called you. I called you. So you are not a mistake. And know that even the very thing that you are experiencing and going through, I'm right there with you. You are not alone. You are not forsaken. There are more that be with you than they that be with them. And even in your lonely place, I want you to know that you're not alone, because your heavenly father is right there with you. And for those of you that I'm speaking to, that this may be foreign because you don't know him, you don't have a relationship with him, let me invite you. Let me invite you. I want to take this time and pause and say, there is a creator. There is a higher being. There is someone that is responsible for the breath that you're breathing right now, because you're not responsible for your breath. I need you to know that you're not responsible for your breath. And these are the things that we take for granted. Come on. We take for granted that we have breath. We take for granted that we have movement of our limbs. We take for granted that even in the midst of chaos and confusion, we still have a mind that's regulating on time. Come on. That you're not responsible for. And so while it is easy to look at those things that are wrong, perspective is everything. And so I challenge you on today to change your perspective and focus on those things that are right. Focus on those things that you have no responsibility for, like the air that you breathe, the sun that rises and the moon that sets, so that you can have light and darkness, so that you can have heat and cold. Those are the things that you're not responsible for. And so even though things are may or may not be the way that you want them, there surely could be worse. They surely could be worse. So on this Thanksgiving Day, if you are listening, I want you to pause and process the fact that you are hearing, because somebody woke up this morning and they didn't have the gift of hearing. They didn't have that gift. You have eyes, you get to see. And somebody woke up this morning with no sight. Couldn't see. You are able to have a voice and speak your truth. Whether you want to or not, you have the choice to do so. And somebody's voice has been silenced on today. So I just want you to know, wherever you are, whatever situation you're in, it could be dark, but just know that because of the light that's on the inside of you, you are light and you are loved. And I want you to be encouraged and just be thankful that you are, because he is. And the I am is in you. Come on. So, y'all hear me? Already, I got some good breakfast coming into me already. So
we started this journey off this week where season to win, we started off with I am okay, right? Not that I'm going to settle and thinking that okay is the minimum or the bare or just that I'm just existing or surviving, but I'm okay. I'm okay because I am approved already. When I came into the earth realm, I was approved to be here. This is an ordained calling. I am endorsed. He already endorsed me. I ain't worried about what you going to give me because he already made sure that he confirmed it for me. I am authorized, right? There is nothing partial about me. The policy has already been written for me to be here. I am confirmed, right? This position that I'm in is not because I barely got here. He confirmed me to be in this position. He just made sure you identified that I was supposed to be here too. And then I am sanctioned. I am sanctioned. It is law that I be governed here where I am. And some people are comparing themselves to others, or they're thinking about, I didn't have mom, I didn't have dad, nobody want me, nobody be around me. Your difference makes the difference. And that's funny because that was on Tuesday, but on Wednesday you had Pastor Wayne, who was saying that I was a square trying to fit in a circle. And I was willing to cut off the extras so I can become the circle. But I wasn't ever supposed to be the circle. I was always supposed to remain the square because he created me the square. That goes back to, right? I'm sustained just the way I am. Just who I am is what is ordered. And then we move up, right? We go through this and we move up to today and we're talking about breathing. Right. And I remember me and Wayne talked about this last night on the show. In 2018, 2019, I was walking around going, God, just let me breathe. Because it was one thing that was happening after another. And I mean, I was on that journey for a long, where it was like, I wasn't going to stop. I wasn't going to stop moving, but I wasn't going to stop and get stuck in the chaos that was going on. But I kept looking back and said, Lord, help me breathe. Lord, help me to breathe. I need you to lead me through this. Help me to breathe. Help me to breathe, Lord. I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it's happening right now. But I know I don't got enough air in me, but I know you could be the air for me. Like, let me breathe. Like, I know I don't know the strategy of how to do this, but I know you got a strategy already written for this. Lord, help me breathe. And I just kept going. And it was days where I felt so heavy and bottom just down. And I was working with kids and I was like, it's not working for them. And I was working with staff and it seemed like every time you got that happy moment or that superhero moment, he took you back and reminded you that rejoicing is always, because this feeling ain't gonna stay. And I was again going, but I kept moving. It was like he kept showing me. So for me, the stepologist, I teach you one step at a time. I just kept going. And then 2020, the world began to resonate and songs started hitting the market. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Let me breathe. Like everywhere. It was like in every sector of the world, breathing just hit the market screaming like, no longer can you hold me down. No longer can I be defined to the circle when I'm a square. No longer am I going to be shut up and shut in because of what you say, but I'm going to be shut up and shut in so that I can get what I need so I can live, right? But the world was screaming, breathe, breathe, breathe. It was like a heartbeat, breathe, breathe. But what's happened is we are now at 2022 and the world still ain't breathing. Individuals still are not breathing. People are still scared to create, scared to embrace, scared to transform, scared to step forward. Right? And the year left, but being scared didn't leave them. Being complacent didn't leave them. Being detached didn't leave them. Being in a state of grieving has not left. And so it is time that we give the body, the mind, the spirit, the family, our reality, the opportunity to breathe, because God's got a blessing. He has a blessing with our name on it. But if we don't breathe and if we don't step through this, we're not going to get there. And not only do we lose sight for us, but there are people that are connected to us that need us to go so they can grow too. And so I need you to talk about breathe, because see, everybody don't know why I just dug into it like I dug into it, because they don't know what I know. So come on, girl.
So here are the tools, right? Because breathe is an acronym. And with the acronym, and this is what I had to learn, because I get to encourage you all today, because there was a point when I wasn't breathing. There was a point in my life where I was literally panting and I was barely taking a breath, because there was so much calamity. There was so much adversity. There was so much darkness and toxicity. I could not even breathe. I couldn't even control my heart rate. I could not control the thoughts in my mind. There was depression. There was suicide. There was all the things that did not look like an end was near or hope was present was what I was dealing with. And so the first word in breathe is believe. And the first thing I had to lean into was, what was I believing? And why was I believing it? So I had to get into the root of my thinking and my thoughts. And when I began to check the facts of what I was believing based on what I was told, based on some childhood stuff, based on some things that I had been surrounded. See, because your circle matters. Those that we allow to speak into our ear gates, the things that we listen to, the things that we watch, all impact our belief system. So the first thing that I started doing was, okay, God, you said that I'm your daughter. You said that I am called to be the head and not the tail. You said that I was above and not beneath, but it was things that I had allowed into my space that was contrary to what the word said and to what I was believing. So the first thing I did was I stopped watching TV, because I understood that what I was watching contributed to what I was believing. And then I stopped listening to secular music, because what I was listening to was impacting what I was believing. Then I stopped listening to negative people, because what they were saying was impacting what I was believing. Then I stopped surrounding myself and associating with negative places and negative things. Why? Because all of those things was impacting my belief system. So then I started to get flat-footed and really get into, okay, Lord, let me really get an understanding about what you said that I could do and who you said I could be. And then my thoughts began to align with his thoughts, and my belief system started to align with his word. So then my belief about me and about what was said about me started to change. And so when people said what they said, I was able to have a point of reference to say, but that ain't what my father said. See, before that, I had no point of reference because I didn't know what my father said. But when I began to read my word, I was like, that ain't what my father said. That's a lie. And then I started saying to myself, who told you that? Who told you that? So now I have a filter. See, I didn't have a filter before. So everything was just falling and I was catching it and I was believing it. But then when I start getting into the word, I was like, wait a minute, who told me that? That ain't what my father said. So my belief began to change. And then I started to get into my breath and there began to have a rhythm. So then I was like, okay, now I need to release. I need to unlearn all the things that I learned that was contributing to my self-sabotaging talk. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I now need to release negative people, places, and things daily. Not once a month, not once a week, daily. Why? Because daily we are interacting with people, places, and things. And I had to learn how to release it and not to allow it to settle. I needed to make sure that I wasn't ingesting or digesting the things that people were putting, at least attempting to put on me.
Right? You know, when you said that piece right there, Bishop Theodis Williams, he says, stop letting people, places, and things take up space in your mind for free. So yeah. So there, everything that comes in contact with you should be renting space with you. There should be something that you're getting out of it, but you're allowing things that you don't want to occupy and hold space. And the things you need or you do want, you don't have space to give them room to be there.
And this is why the releasing part is so important. If you are a container that stays at capacity, then you have no room to receive more or better. So the releasing, just like we release naturally the toxins in our bodies, the reason why we have to drink water to release the toxins in our bodies, it's the same thing, right? Yes, it's the same thing. So the word, because the word says we need to renew our mind, the word, the reading of the word, the meditation of the word, the first thing in the morning allows you to fill your cup. So then what happens is, I want you to get this demonstration, right? So let's just say that in the morning you start with this bottle. You start your mind is this bottle. And so it starts here. Well, it's full because it's full with all of the good things. It's full with all of the good things that you put in your mind in the morning. So then what happened is when you are engaging and interacting and going about your day, and you come in contact with things that are contrary to what your cup is already full with, what happens? It will just either sit on the top or it won't even go in. Mm-hmm. It's going to either just sit right here or it just won't go in. What happens though is that when we don't take time to make sure that we're filling our cups up in the morning, well, there's room. And so what happens is we're constantly giving out. We're giving out. I'm constantly giving out. So if I'm constantly giving out my bottle, my water, my all of my good things are now being depleted, and I'm going low and low and low. And so then by the end of the day, I'm empty. And so now my day isn't over though. I'm still interacting. I'm still engaging. I'm still out and about. So now I have room. For toxicity and negativity. I encourage you all to make sure your cup always stay full. Now, you may not be into positive affirmations. You may not be into reading the word, but what I encourage you on this day, figure out what is going to work for you to keep your cup full. This is the only way you can stay in a position and a posture where you are able to protect your peace and to protect the things that you love. And I hope and I pray that the number one thing that you love is yourself. So that's the release. The third word is embrace. Again, this ties into the releasing because once you release things, you're then able to embrace what's possible. Once you unlearn some things, now you're able to embrace what's possible. You're able to embrace a new opportunity. You're able to embrace a new relationship. You're able to embrace things that you didn't even think about, things that you dreamt about that was buried. So that embracing is important. And this, again, is why you don't have time. You don't have space to allow negativity to enter because it becomes now a blockage and a barrier to you being able to move forward into your next. Now, the next word is accept. What are you accepting? You have to accept, like I had to accept. When I was in my space, I had to accept the part that I played. In order for us to go from where we are to where we want to be, it is so important that we stop pointing fingers. Come on. That was the number one stage for me. I had to stop saying, well, my mama, my daddy, my husband, my this, my that. while they may have been valid, while all of those reasons may have been valid, none of those reasons were sustainable for me staying in the position and in the posture that I was. So I needed to take responsibility for my actions and my reactions. Yeah, they said what they said, but did I have to make it to be more than what it was?
You know, while you're right there, I just was having a conversation because recently the Lord revealed to me. Yesterday I talked a little bit about making sure we're taking care of our health. We're doing everything else for everybody else. We're moving fast paced. But what I recognized with myself was I know I was created by love, right? To be loved and give love, but I wasn't in the being given love, right? The receiving of love. I wasn't in a position of a posture of receiving. I felt so uncomfortable with that because of maybe past, you go back and you can remember so many things like don't take nothing from nobody. Don't ask nobody for nothing. Don't expect nobody. Don't, like, all these different things that were fed, right? As a kid that were fed to me. As I grew up and got reaffirmed, allowed to be reaffirmed, right? Allowed to be reaffirmed, like, well, no, don't ask nobody. You can't trust nobody. You're going to be able to do that. So don't even. And so I was steadily in this space where I was trying to do it all and being depleted, and illnesses within the body are actually warning signs that something is not right within the spirit. And so all these things is happening. And God reminded me, I need you to get in a position where you can receive love. It's not that you are not loved. You're just not in a position to receive. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to break you away from everything you thought you knew. So you can only focus on being loved, being provided for, and going through this journey with me. But what it does is change your perspective, because you're going like, is it that they don't want to be around, or I'm limiting them from being around? What am I doing? How am I seeing this? And I can't make them change, but I can make me evaluate what I do as me.
Absolutely.
I just want to do that.
Yeah. And that's what that acceptance part is all about, right? Accepting your part. And to the point you just made, you had to accept love, right? So again, it's not that God can't get it to you or give it to you, but if your heart is hardened, then you may have a hard time receiving, or because of past hurt and trauma, you are shut down to what's possible. You are shut down to what's possible. And so the next word is take action. The next word is take action. Now, here's what I've learned in my own life. In order for me to take action, I had to process my trauma. And most of us don't want to touch our trauma because, again, like you said, Dr. Regina, we've been told, oh, what goes in the house stays in the house, or, all of these colloquialisms and isms and, things that we were raised with and things that people said it to us, and you better not tell nobody. Or if you tell anybody, nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to support you. And again, we have to check the author. We have to check the author, because people are always saying stuff, but they're not the author, nor are they the finisher of your faith, nor are they the author or finisher of your destiny. So while people have an opinion, their opinion should not be the final when it comes to your situation and your belief system. So we have to take action to do our part. The word of God says, faith without works is dead. That's just not in the realm of money. That's in the realm of healing as well. I can say all day long, God, I believe you for healing, but then say, but I'm not going to take the medicine.
And he provided the medicine. Come on. He provided
taking the medicine is a part. That's the work. That's the work. You can believe God all day long. And for some of us, healing happens instantaneously, but for others, it's a process. It's a process. It's like, oh, I believe God to bless my business, but you're not getting up to do business.
Faith is an action.
You ain't working.
Faith is an action.
Faith is a verb.
But when you think about it, the verb, but something has to happen to show that you actually have the faith. Faith is not, I'm sitting there and I'm on waiting. I'm about to drown, right? We all know the story. I'm about to drown and God keeps sending me, but I'm believing that God gonna send me, but I won't get on nothing that he sent me. So you gotta take a step. You gotta make an action, whether it is in the mind, whether it is in the heart, but it has to be something that is done that resembles that there is faith really exists within you. It's not just sitting there. Love is action. I'm like,
love is action.
Come on.
Love is action. And so here's the thing. We have to take the action. We have to do the work. We have to show up for us. And so here's the other thing that I learned. This is so paramount right here. And this may, step on some people's toes. If it don't apply, let it fly.
That's why we're here.
Guess what I learned? I learned that depression is a choice. Depression is a choice. Sadness is a choice. All of those negative emotions that we feel, it's a choice. Now, hear me, and the context is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that things don't happen to cause you to experience sadness, but staying there is a choice. I'm not saying that there aren't things that will cause you to feel whatever it is that you feel, but staying there is a choice. When you begin to have this position and this posture where you are like that all the time, that is a choice. Why do I know that? Because Philippians 4:7-8 says to think on these things that are of a good report. Think on these things that are praiseworthy. Think on these things that are lovely. So when you begin to think on these things, and when you begin to think on the goodness of the Lord and all that he's done for you, because whether you believe in him or not, he is doing things for you.
Every day.
Whether you believe in him or not, he is doing things for you. And all things are working together for your good, even when it don't look like it, even when it don't feel like it. And so when we choose to focus on the things that are not going right and the things that are not going the way that we want to, that's a choice. That's a choice. The word says the joy of the Lord is my strength. And so even when we are weak, whether we feel weak in our bodies or weak in our minds, wherever there is weakness, it says, I became weak. That's what the word says. I became weak so that you can be strong. I became sick so that you would be healed. So being in a state of depression or, sickness or whatever that is for long periods of time is a choice, because we have a word that is powerful. We have a word that is living. We have a word that we get to apply to our bodies and our minds like a salve daily. We have a word.
So Dr. Obioma, even when you're on that piece and you're talking about the piece of depression, right? We already have hit on that. He's provided the medicine that you need to help with the healing process, right? So that you can walk through it. But it is some kingdom citizens, I want to say to you, there are some you're dealing with entrenched levels of these things that have imbalanced your body, that have imbalanced your hormones, and you need help.
Yes.
Yes, the word is there for you, but he gave you a doctor too. He gave you a psychologist, a therapist too. He gave you places to go, but you got to be willing to do the work. You got to take the action. You got to accept responsibility and take the action. And so you can't see, God has already worked out the miracle. It's your job to see the miracle. See, when people say, oh, a miracle happened. No, the miracle was already there happening. You just weren't open to see what was happening. And when you recognized it, we made this big word, the miracle. But remember, he's always at work for us. There's never a moment. He always sees what's going on. I think sometimes we just don't see it. Sometimes we just don't see it. And when we see it, we're like, whoa, look what happened. It was already happening. It was already happening. The answer was already there. And so he knew that we wasn't going to be able to do this by ourselves. And so he made sure that he identified a system where people could be trained and be able to help you be diagnosed and do the work to get to where he called you to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we know we have not because we ask not, because the word clearly says in Matthew's, ask, and you shall find. Ask, and it will be given. Seek. Yes. Knock, right? That's in Matthew's. It says ask, seek, knock. That's the taking action part. What have you been asking for? What have you been seeking? What door have you been knocking on? So to say that you're hungry and nobody won't feed you and you haven't opened up your mouth.
Let me drop this pen. I don't even got the mic, but I'm about to drop the whole pen because that's real. That is so real. It's so many. And I am so, when I come in contact with somebody who's been displaced, because I don't like to say homeless, because there's a home for them. We just haven't identified the home yet, right? So they're displaced for a moment and they come to me and they say, can you help me get something to eat? I can help you get something to eat, but it is hard for me to just hand you a dollar amount, because if you came in contact with the right people and all you was looking for was something to eat, you would get to eat. But if it's the drink, the smoke, you get what I'm saying? All these other things that you want, then that's a different story. And I've had experiences where I'm at the McDonald's, and my kids was real young, at the McDonald's, and a lady comes up to me and she said, ma'am, can you give me $5 to get something to eat? And I said, ma'am, I don't have $5 to give you to get something to eat. But if you come in here with me, I can get you something to eat. Right? Or I can get you a burger, a drink or something while I'm in here. I'll bring you back out. And she says to me, you so cheap, like she snaps. And I said, you wasn't hungry. I said, because those that are hungry, they receive food. I was trying to go get some Chinese. So I'm going to give you money to put money with somebody else's money to go get you Chinese while I'm feeding my kids off the dollar menu. You got to understand who you're talking to. Because I will give you what I got, but I won't give you so that you can walk over me and devour me. And she just stood there and she had that look. And I was like, Lord God, you know how you pray when somebody talking to you? That was a moment that I couldn't be mad at her. I had to evaluate my thought process on this situation. And I was like, Lord, help me. Just help me. Don't say nothing, because I'm trying to help. And if I say the wrong thing, that means I'm combative. And this won't be her first time or her last time doing these behaviors. But so we're now on that take action piece. So many of you who are tapped in today, you took action today. This was taking action today. Out of all the places you could have been on what we established as a national holiday, right? You're here in this space on this morning. Because women, I know y'all supposed to be cooking. I ain't saying nothing, but I'm not cooking right now. But I ain't talking about nobody else. But you're here, and maybe you already got the
action is eating. I'm doing the eating because somebody is in the kitchen putting it down, and they're going to benefit and appreciate the eating. The partation. So that's taking action too. I'm just saying, right? Every joint supplies. Somebody's cooking, somebody's eating.
I love it. So that take action piece, right? We're there, and then after we take action, what is it that we do, Doctor?
Then we got to heal, y'all. We got to heal. We have to give ourselves permission to heal. Because guess what? That is the only way you are really going to be whole. Two halves. Think about it. You half broken, you half healed. That doesn't make a whole. You got to be completely healed to be whole. So the healing looks different for all of us. And for some of us, I know for me, healing is a journey. So what I don't subscribe to is the one and done, and oh, you was in a prayer line, or you went to therapy, or you went to this. Healing is also a verb that requires action, which means that you have to daily forgive yourself. And this is what it looks like: how you talk to you. This is what it looks like: self-compassion. This is what it looks like: being non-judgmental of you. Because here's what I've learned: in order for me not to be judgmental of you, I have to practice not being judgmental of me. In order for me to be unconditionally in my interaction with you, in my conversation with you, and all that I do with you, I have to first be partaker of it for me. So if I'm saying to myself, you dumb, you stupid, why you do this, why you that, you da 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 da, then that's why it's easy for me to be that way with you. But when I can show myself love, when I can show myself empathy, when I can show myself compassion, when I can have grace and mercy for myself, I can then share and give you the same thing. So that forgiveness is you being able to say, you know what? If I had the capacity to make a different decision or a better decision, I would have. So let me take this lesson. So we're changing what we say. We're changing what we say about ourselves. We're changing what we say about the situation, perspective. We're changing our language. We're coming into a love language and not a criticize language, not a judgmental language, right? Oh, you should have known better than that. You always doing that. Why are you always going? We're going to learn, as I had to learn, how to be self-compassionate, how to give myself grace and mercy. And so because I've learned that and am learning that, right? I'm not on here today like I've mastered it. No, why? Because life shows up for all of us and it hits differently.
Come on.
And it is at that point that you got to pause and you got to do a mirror check and you got to process and you got to be able to feel what you feeling and not just kind of go over it like it didn't just happen. Yeah, you just got hit by a car. Yeah, somebody just took advantage of you. Yeah, somebody just violated you. Yeah, somebody that you trusted just hurt you. Process that. Don't act like, oh, that's just who they are. Don't be like, oh, it was my fault. If I didn't do this, if I didn't say that, they wouldn't have did this. They would. No. Nobody has the right to violate you. Nobody has the right to abuse you. Nobody has the right to take advantage of you. And guess what? You don't have that right either. You don't have that right either. So it's the daily act of being able to do a mirror check and check in with you from the neck up. What's going on in here? What are you thinking? How are you feeling? Is there tingleness going in your body? Is there numbness? Are you feeling nauseated? What's showing up in your body? Because I had to learn to get in touch with my body.
And that's what I was thinking. When you was there at check from the neck up, I was just, thinking so many times the rest of the body is giving warning signs what's going on in the mind. Right? It's giving warning signs, not only what's going on in the mind, because remember what we're seeing externally is connected to what we're thinking within the mind, our perceptions of those things. And so the body is having this whole, we're connected to all, like all of us is interconnected. And some of us, because there's been times for me where the body is screaming, don't go there, don't go there, don't go there. And you still go, right?
Or don't eat that.
Don't eat that.
Don't eat that.
You get what I said? Don't do it. Don't do it. The body is screaming, or you eat it, and you wake up. Because I'm telling y'all, After 35, I think my body was like, you can't eat all that everybody eat. You're going to have to make some choices of which one you eat, at what time you eat it. I think my body was even on a time schedule. Like, no. And so you wake up in the morning and you like, man, hold on. Woo.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it, you go back, the mind take you right back to it, right? Because you're connected. Everything's connected. The mind take you right back to it, and you go, yeah, I sure did eat that cake last night.
That's that taking responsibility. Accept your
did.
part for that upset stomach. Accept your part. Accept your part for the diabetes.
Ooh.
Accept your part for the high blood pressure.
Come on.
Accept your part, because you keep eating all that salt. You keep putting all of that sugar. Accept your part.
Now let's get it, because we're talking about accepting parts for the body, right? Of what we've done within the body, but you got to accept your part in the house. We got people that's mad about the relationships that's going on with their children, and they're projecting them onto their children. But remember, the child is a part. The child is a part, and the child was trained in a manner, and the child seen some things. You may not have been speaking on the thing, but the child was seeing some things. And so the child learned a system of operation, and you're mad at the child because the child is operating like you.
Like you. The child is a mirror image of you, and you don't like to look at your own reflection.
How do we heal this? That's the thing. Like, you step in until you identify and until you accept responsibility. You cannot go on a journey of healing. You cannot go on a journey of healing. And you're waiting for them to say something to you that you have yet to say to them. You can't go on a journey of healing. You got to accept. Come on, because I'm loving it. Healing is always, actually, it's funny. It's funny because when you look at this backwards, right? You go backwards. It all aligns and intertwines together. And healing is a piece of every single one of them. To get healing, you must.
Absolutely. So then that takes us to the last word of breathe, which is elevate, right? And I spend time talking about this because a lot of people associate elevation with a position and elevation with finances. And while all of that has its place, but if you haven't elevated your mind, what'll happen is when you get in that position, your character won't be able to keep you there because you haven't healed.
I love it.
You haven't healed. So it's really important that we have to make sure that we are pausing, that we are processing, that we are praying, that we are in a posture where when life shows up, we have the tools necessary that will allow us to either pursue or pivot.
You know, when you, even with the elevation piece, the elevate piece, I'm sitting here thinking. And so within Stepology, I teach this piece where you start again, right? So I've went through this, I've conquered this. And that elevate for me is like, there's something else. And you're willing to go where that something else is. You're willing, instead of having this circle that this is this big, you're willing to just allow it to grow. Let go and allow it to grow, right? And because every person we're coming, I truly believe this, that at one point in my life, I thought there was this pyramid and we got to be standing at the top of the pyramid and that everything else falls up under that. And then there's a pivot that took place in my life where the pyramid went upside down and I was at the bottom. And as I was at the bottom, every person I came in contact with, based off of my leadership, based off of my love, based off of my experience, it grew it, right? And there was no stopping. There's no stopping to that type of love. There's no stopping to that type of leadership, because now if I make others the better when I come in contact with them, that means that makes me even the better.
Energy goes where energy flows.
And when you say elevate, it took me back to that in my mind of just changing position, changing perspective, changing the path that you take, changing the words that you say, and being willing to do the work.
And be willing to do the work. And so this is how you breathe, because in order for you to get to the elevation part, you got to work on what you believe. You got to be releasing every day. You got to embrace. You have to accept. You have to take action, and you have to heal, because without those words, you're not going to be able to elevate in the way that you want to. While elevation may happen, it won't be sustainable without you doing those things prior, right? And so breathing, and in order for you to breathe and to continue to breathe on schedule, as I like to say, right? A lot of times Dr. Regina says, what does it mean to breathe on schedule? Well, it's intention. It's the intention. It means that you're not panting. It means that you are processing what just happened. So before you respond, you are taking the time to pause and to process the internal stimuli and the external stimuli. And then if you are wise, only if you are wise,
come on,
you take an additional moment to pray and say, God, what is this? Why am I feeling this way? And why am I assigning this to that? When you already told me this, why am I making it to be something else? And it's at that time that you do that, and you're able to get really present with what it is that you're feeling and what's going on in your body, that you can say, okay, God, I need your wisdom here. Show me what I can't see. I oftentimes say, I need to see in the spiritual what I can't see in the natural, because what the natural is showing me, I know there is something deeper, because most of the time our eyesight in the natural gives us surface.
Come on.
But it doesn't reveal to us the intent or the agenda. And so because we don't know the intent or the agenda or the setup, we got to pause and process and go before the Father and say, I need you to reveal, because there is revelation in the elevation.
Ooh, did you get that? There is revelation in the elevation. You not, come on. He's not going to elevate you, right? Unless he gives you the revelation for where you're going to. You got to get it. This is hot off the press, right? So when anytime we ever, and that's the thing I want y'all to get, when you enter into the lean in place and into this area where you're with me and whoever comes, this is hot off the press. This is not something we perform. These are real people with real power, full of real nuggets. Are you getting me? And they're authentic in everything that they're doing. They're not trying to be anybody else. All of them have their own systems, but if you pay attention, we all intertwine together. We all intertwine together. Another piece I want to say to you all, man, I'm full right now. That's all, I want to say that I'm full right now. Taste and